this is the last portion for this, and hopefully I'm hoping that this video is just going to be a little bit shorter. I'll show you guys how to do some problems 20 and 21. Then that way you guys can do the rest of these on your own. And then afterwards, then I'll show you guys how to evaluate using the way that I've been doing it. But again, other teachers will teach you differently, and if you prefer their method and you're still getting the correct answer, then that's fine too. And this is just all review anyway. So here is number 20. Let's take a look at these three. Translate these radians in degrees. You may multiply by 180 over pi to help you. State which quadrant each lie on. So, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then state the reference angle in radians. So let's go ahead and do number 20. So number 1, I'm going to multiply that by 180 over pi so that I know what degree that is. Bam, bam. So yeah, let's just go ahead and just go 3 times 180 divided by 4. So this is 135 degrees. Okay, so that's 1. And then 2, state which quadrant that's on. So 135 degrees, or 3 pi over 4, that's in quadrant 2. Okay. State the reference angle in radians. Well, because the denominator has a 4, your reference angle is going to be pi over 4. So again, the reference angle is that angle on the first quadrant that's related to that. So I'm going to go back to that chart that we just made. Really look at the denominators, you guys. You see something over 4, that's going to go back to that. You see 4 pi over 3. Well, I'm thinking the reference angle has to be pi over 3. So take a look at your denominators. That will help you out with that type of work. Maybe let's do number 24, I guess. Yeah, how about 24, 4 pi over 3? Or 25. Okay, let's do 25, 5 pi over 3. I said 21 because it has another divide by 4, that's why. It has another pi over 4. So let's do 25, 5 pi over 3. Well, let's go ahead and go 180. Okay. 5 times 180 divided by 3. So that's going to give us 300 degrees. Okay. Okay, 300 degrees. Okay, that's where at? Well, that should be in quadrant 4, because if I'm going to draw this chart, here's 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and then over here is 270, or 3 pi over 2. So you should be in this 4th quadrant over here. Okay, so this is going to be quadrant 4. Okay, so again, 5 pi over 3 is the same thing as saying 300 degrees. That's in quadrant 4. And then afterwards, we got to state the reference angle. Well, it's over 3. So the reference angle should be pi over 3. We're going to refer back to that. So that's how you're going to do numbers 20 and 25 to just kind of solidify your radians and then your angles and what quadrant it should be at. So that's the whole purpose of 20 to 28. Now let's move on to evaluating those functions, and we can probably do a couple of them together. Actually, let's do 29, 31, and 36 on this one. Compute the following. Evaluate the following. It should be a better wording. Use reference angles, and all students take calculus to help you. And I'm going to show you guys what that means with that. I don't know why they don't put... I like putting parentheses. Let's put parentheses on all of them. And we should be anyway. Okay, sine of 3 pi over 4. Okay, this is what I usually do. So what I usually do is step 1. I use the reference angle. So use the reference angle. What I mean by this is I am going to, instead of doing 3 pi over 4, I'm going to evaluate sine of pi over 4. Okay. So now we're going back to the stuff that we did the first time around in the first part of the video. So sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Okay, we're not done yet because, that's for that one. We're still trying to figure this one out. Okay. Secondly, I need to see what quadrant is this. Is 3 pi over 4? Well, 3 pi over 4 is in quadrant number 2. Remember our pattern, odd numbers. 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, so this is where it's coming at now. Odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay. Now that I know it's in quadrant 2, and now that I know this answer, I'm going to help you guys with all students take calculus. And I think I'm just going to draw it one time over here, and we're going to use this for all of the, and I mean, of course, if you need to redraw it every time, that's totally fine. So all students take calculus. They are separated into quadrants. Okay, so this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. What this means is that A in quadrant 1 means sine, cosine, and tangent all are positive. So that's what A means. If it's sine, cosine, and tangent, all are positive. We will deal with the other three a little bit later on the second review. Okay? S stands for sine is positive, only sine. So that means cosine and tangent are going to be negative over here in quadrant number 2. So that's what it means. All students take, that means tangent is the only function that's going to be positive here. That means that cosine and sine are going to be negative. All students take calculus in quadrant 4. Only cosine is positive. That means sine and tangent are going to be negative. Okay, what does this all mean? So, what this means is I'm going to drop sine of 3 pi over 4 here. And I'm going to use the value of radical 3 over 2. We just now need to figure out if it's positive square root of 2 over 2 or negative square root of 2 over 2. And that is it. Well, since we know that 3 pi over 4 is in quadrant 2, let's go look at quadrant 2. And we also know that sine is positive, so that means we're going to keep this as positive square root over 2, square root of 2 over 2, and that is your evaluation. Okay, sine of square root of 3 over sine of 3 pi over 4 is equal to positive square root of 2 over 2. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys a little bit. I know I've kind of taught it very slowly, but I think after a while when you guys get the, okay, reference angle, which quadrant, all students take calculus, then it might be a little bit faster for you guys. Let's do number 31 now, okay? And I'm just doing it step by step. After a while, you might not even need like all of this parts over here, okay? So reference angle, well, reference angle is pi over 4. So let's go evaluate that first. Tangent of pi over 4. Well, I didn't quite do the homework, so let's just go ahead and do that. Tangent of pi over 4 is opposite over adjacent. So that's going to be 1 over 1, so that's 1. Okay, we know that much. Well, at least we know it's the same radian. 3 pi over 4 is in quadrant number 2 because that's what we said on number 29. And then now let's take a look at your all students take calculus. Okay. Only sine is positive. Only sine is positive at quadrant 2. So then when we finalize this, tangent of 3 pi over 4, I'm going to put the 1 because that's what pi over 4 was. But because sine is the only one that's positive, we're going to have to actually make this as a negative. So tan of 3 pi over 4 is actually negative 1. I hope now it's making a little bit more sense, this 3-step process or the way of your the thinking process. I am aware that there are different ways to do this, so please, again, if there's an easier way for you to do it because of a previous teacher had taught the unit circle instead or etc., go ahead and do that, okay? Now let's just do one more, and then that's pretty much it for this video. Cosine of 7 pi over 6, well, let's just go reference angle is going to be pi over 6 because there's a 6 below it, okay? So let's go and evaluate actually cosine of pi over 6. Cosine of pi over 6 from this chart is going to be square root of 3 over 2. Okay, that we know that much. Okay, all right. Now we need to figure out where 7 pi over 6 is in what quadrant. Okay. At 5 p.m., I went to 7-11. So that should be in quadrant 3 if we were using my sentence. Okay. At 5 p.m., I went to 7-11. So this is in quadrant 3. Let's take a look at which is only positive. So at quadrant 3, only tangent is positive. You don't have to write all of this down. It's going to be up to you. But again, really the point is like, what is cosine of 7 pi over 6? It is this answer. Okay, so with knowing all of this, cosine of 7 pi over 6 is going to be not positive square root of 3 over 2, but negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, you have enough information to do all of the work today.